after 20 years. Can you believe 20 years?
Yeah, I can't believe 20
You really?
years.
I can't. I didn't even know it was 20 years. Matt is the person who told me, Lisa, do you realize you've been in business 20 years? I was like, no, I can't. So these conversations are some of our most memorable moments of the last 20 years. We call them family matters and highlighted moments. And I have been waiting to have this time with you because I don't think anyone has been the most impacted or had the most sacrifice or had to figure out or juggle the most, or really not even juggle, you just had to accept it, like you were in it, you know? Or there's been no one who's been the center of my attention to make it work along with the dream. There are two things I needed to make work: the dream and my son. And so I've been waiting for this. Matt and I have talked about this for a while, and every time we're like, okay, there's some key people. There's Grandma B, Grandma A, there's your dad, there's your brother, and there's Jelani, you know? And so.
Well, I'm happy to be here.
Thank you.
I've definitely, I've seen you doing it, and I've heard great things about it, so I'm definitely glad to be here.
Well, and you've experienced it. I talk about beanies and weenies and not being able to afford, and that was a highlight for us. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't even trip about it. It wasn't like suffer. It was like, no, put some more sugar in the bean. I talk about us playing Monopoly all the time because that was your favorite pastime. Mm-hmm. And you probably don't remember me playing Monopoly with you because Grandma A, your grandma, my mom, superseded me because as you got older, I didn't know she was a Monopoly buff.
So the crazy thing is, because of that being the reality, I remember playing Monopoly with you more because you played it so little.
Really?
It was a standout moment to have my mom playing on the Monopoly board. It's like, oh yeah, it's gonna be a good game. So I remember the few times you were there, and I really like you stand out as brutal in Monopoly, savage. Take no prisoners.
No, I didn't take any prisoners in Monopoly because Monopoly, I've been playing a long time. I remember when we first started playing Monopoly because what we did was I carved out 90 minutes a day that was just yours. People often ask me, how did you do it? How did you raise your son and build your dream? And they feel torn between the two. Well, I just managed my time to give you 90 minutes every day. I heard a study when you were 7-ish that said the average parent spends 12 minutes a day giving their attention to their child.
I mean, I can believe that, like actually interacting.
Right. And they said in those 12 minutes, about 10 of it is direction, giving direction.
That's not good.
Do your homework, clean up your room. Yeah. And that just shocked me. I was like, whoa.
I definitely didn't have that experience.
That means a lot to me. I can't tell you how I was before 7. I don't know. I hope I wasn't that way, but I know when I got that information, I was like, okay.
Made a change.
I made a conscious change.
Yeah.
And so I said, we have 90 minutes uninterrupted. And I remember I used to ask you, what do you want to do, son? Whatever you want to do. And you would be so excited. We lived in Mira Mesa in San Diego. We just moved to San Diego. We lived in that apartment.
Yeah, I remember.
Upstairs. That was the apartment where I started my office. Remember, I had my office in the closet. I had the hangers, the pant hangers, and I had the files hanging from the pant hangers in the walk-in closet, which was my fake office. And 90 minutes every day. 90 minutes, you had 90 minutes.
That's funny, I keep my files in my closet right now. They have these really cool closet organizers. So I have it's basically like a drawer that hangs in my closet. Yeah. Because I have a small house now, so I don't have an office. So I keep all my stuff in my closet.
I love it. Hey, you know what? Things can end up really, really good.
Right, yeah. I mean, I have a great, I guess, what's the best word for that? A great role model, a great example, a great frame of what could be possible, whether, nothing I don't see that as a holdback or anything. A
barrier.
Right. It's not it doesn't register as a barrier to have
not
a
at
super
all.
small.
It's a beginning.
Right. I look at everything as everyone, had that at some point, unless you just were given something better than.
Right. Well, you say a good point, unless you were given something.
Yeah.
I haven't given you a lot. I gave you a solid foundation. I gave you cheerleading, but I didn't give you a lot of the bells and whistles to make it easier for you to either get through school or?
I'm really glad to have a really like consistent and like realistic view of the world. Cause like I've seen both sides of it, I guess.
You have. Well, I put you in some really great schools.
Right.
And being in a really great school that was private, that had a super high tuition, that was exclusive, you saw privileged. Mm-hmm. And
yes.
I remember I was excited that I can put you in a school that every year in high school was like a college tuition.
Right.
And that I could afford that. And I remember 3 years in, you said, Mom, please put me in public school. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
And I was like, what are you talking about? Have you seen the bathrooms in public school? Like, this is amazing. I wish I had this opportunity. And you said something to me. It said a lot about your character, which you have an amazing, gentle spirit, Zen character. You said, Mom, the kids here act entitled. No, and then you said, they have old money. We have new money. And they don't treat people nice. Yeah. And you said, I don't want to have these kind of friends. I'm embarrassed when we go out eating. And I never saw it that way. I wouldn't know that. And you just was like, they're not grateful, Mom.
Yeah. After 3 years with them, it became very clear, like, that they're like the general way that community and that what entitled. They were involved with, they were great people for what they were, like what they had. They did the best with what they were given, and I think I don't hold it against them. But
right.
It did come down to we had different things that we wanted
Values.
To get out of things. Yeah, we had different things we wanted out of life, different things we wanted to see happen, and I just wanted a real life, just have things how it be. And they were more about like how can I get into the best law firm as quick as possible, or how can I make the most money, secure. They were all about securing the more vanity based things in life, which is fine, I guess in a certain circle, everyone does what they want, if you want cars and money and stuff. And
what's been important to you?
I really value family. I think having a good family structure is gold. You can't buy that no matter what you do. I like travel. I think travel is so important to open perspective of things. Traveling has really changed how I look at my corner of life. It's made me a lot less selfish, and it's given me just a good sense that no matter I spend a lot of time thinking about people in the Bahamas, or people in China, and all these people that have different ways of living, and I'm always very present to how privileged I am. I'm never absent to how good I have it. Even though I'm living in a 1-bedroom apartment and all that stuff, I have a toilet, so I have internet and all this good stuff. I have video games, and so it really I think travel and family, those two things really keep me grounded, and because it really is the opposites of each other. Travel is widening and making me look at the whole world, and family keeps me really focused on what's important. And
I feel the same way. I'm sitting here going, oh my God, he's actually saying what I feel. I feel the exact same way. Travel expands my possibility, and family keeps me grounded.
Right. Family's the one thing that was they they're the same as travel, where they keep me outside of myself, but at the same time family can check me. And
right.
They know me better than anyone out there.
Right. Right. I laugh because I think the first or second time, the second time, because the first time I went to Africa, I was with you, actually. You were 9, I think, when we went to Kenya. But the second time I went to South Africa, I went on a tour, and it was a big grand tour with security and television and media and 25 workshops over a 28-day period, and it was big. And I remember it was just, everything was grand. Everything was grand. And I came home for 4th of July, and I'll never forget, I knocked on whoever's door, wherever whoever's house we were at, and we always get together. And Vicky opened the door, and she said, "I know you've been somewhere in the world doing something important because I saw it on social media. But all I want to know is, did you bring the peach cobbler?" And it was one of those keep you in check.
Yeah.
They didn't want anything from me. I don't want to know about your thoughts.
Right, but that one thing you said you would do.
Yeah.
2 months ago.
Yeah, and did you put extra crust on it?
Right.
Because we like extra crust.
Right.
And it was great. It was that same thing. You talk about world travel, and when you've traveled, number one, what are some of the places you've traveled to? When you traveled, what did it open up in you? And when you talk about the gratitude, when you talk, what did you see, and or how did it impact you? And because you start traveling with me when you were about 9. By the way, you have to know this. I refuse to bring you on the road with me. I never told anybody this until you can pull your own bag. I just said, I know he wants to be.
It makes sense. It makes sense. Like, why would you want to bring a burden?
You're not a burden.
No.
You're not a burden. But I
someone
was like,
else's bag.
I was like, I can
burden.
barely get my stuff through the airport.
My physical bag would be the physical burden on your body.
Right. So I don't know if you remember, but when you were 9, you had this big electronics bag, because you had remember the games at the time?
Yeah.
You had
Game Boy.
That's what you had the Game Boy, and then you had the thingy just in case you can hook it up to the TV, whatever those handles are. And then you had, I don't know what, you had a whole bunch of stuff, and you didn't have wheels on your bag when we went to Kenya. And I was like, I told you, only bring what you can carry. And you were like, Mama, it's heavy. I was like, And then you get your granddad to hold it, and then he hold it, and then he give it back. And what blew my mind was that something happened to you. I don't know what, and this is not a tear for you to say anything, but something occurred in Kenya, in Africa, where you were so engaged with the kids there and the experience there, you never turned on you never played your games. Not one time.
It wasn't, I think it's a combination of the environment didn't cater to that kind of stuff. Because I guess when you're surrounded by people who are of that mindset, it's a lot easier. But I guess in Africa, it's more it's so beautiful and it's so calm and serene, and the expectations are different, right? And so it just makes you feel like you're wasting. I always know, if I'm somewhere, I'm in the mindset now where if I'm somewhere away from where I live, why would I go to a In-N-Out, right? Or why would I go to a Red Robin? I'm a search for the thing I can't get.
Okay.
When I go home.
Okay, he's telling on me.
I'm not telling
yes,
on you.
You are.
I am not.
Because I'm bad.
This is your inner guilt. I didn't say a thing.
Okay.
I didn't say a thing.
Okay, this is my inner guilt. This is
my...
Go ahead, you can tell on me though.
There's so many stories, I don't know which one you're thinking of right now. That's the hard part.
Okay.
If we're specifically talking about Africa still, there's a story specifically for Africa.
Go ahead.
Where we're at a crazy, crazy restaurant called The Carnivore, right? And it's all these African meats and all this crazy stuff. We're eating, I say we, but I mean camel. It's a table of us, it's 8 or 9 of us.
Buffalo.
Camel, buffalo, ostrich, crocodile, all this stuff. And they're walking around with platters of it. And you keep waiting for the guy with the chicken wings.
Wait, no. The guy kept saying, ostrich.
Ostrich.
And I go, no, thank you.
No, I'll pass.
Camel.
No, I'll pass. I'll pass.
Buffalo.
No. That's him. I'll pass.
So finally, Jelani's only 9 years old. He goes, Mom, what are you waiting on? And I said,
the chicken.
And he says, we come halfway around the world, Mom, for you to get chicken? And I was like, I want to put him on a punishment. maybe he has a point. And then I tried the ostrich.
Yeah.
And it was good.
And some things weren't good, like the camel wasn't good. That's not the point, though. It's to try it so you can say, that's not good.
You've always been this way. Oh my God, you're such an old soul. Yes, I have been the one to reserve.
Yeah.
And you're right, there's so many stories. We were in Italy and we're out, Jelani had just, you hadn't even graduated. No, you had just graduated.
I had just graduated.
Just graduated high school, and I sent Jelani. Jelani decided he wanted to be a chef. And I decided that, well, let's send you on a culinary tour. If you want to cook, let's cook before you go to school to see if you really like it real time. Little did we know how amazing that trip would be, right?
Right.
So I send you on an 88-day culinary externship tour. There's no real program called that. I made that up. And it was all these different places. First, the Tortola, the British Virgin Islands, and then we went on to Italy. And every place, remember, I was with you 8 days, the first 8 days, and then I left you. As soon as we land, you want to jump into the cuisine.
Right. Exactly.
You just, I don't want to eat anything from America.
Right, that makes total sense to me.
To me, chicken wings.
No, anything that looks familiar can't be near my palate.
Nowhere. You want to jump as deep into the culture, as deep, and all of it's unfamiliar to us.
Right.
See, he's just fine with it. And so we go to this restaurant in Rome, and I want to order, I don't know if you remember, spaghetti and meatballs.
Yeah.
And the guy's like,
They don't even call them that.
they're like, we don't even have spaghetti and meatballs. I'm like, yeah, but you do. You have to. He's like, no, that's an American dish.
Yeah.
Y'all made it up. And he was a little irritated, by the way. And I was like, well, I don't know what to get. And Jelani's like, any of these other 50 options on the
And
menu,
the
Mom?
hard part in Italy is it's all in Italian.
But you didn't care. You
No.
just would go, no, that. And I go, how can, remember every meal I was fascinated by you? Every meal I was fascinated by you. I go, how are you risking it? We're hungry. And he goes, it'll be good. I believe it to be so.
I didn't say it like that.
Well, that's what it sounds
I
like.
didn't say it like that.
It'll be good.
I believe it to be so. Nah, it was I liked Italy a lot. It was like it opened my mind to like fresh food. Like I didn't really have like a basis for fresh, good, not fried.
Right. Right.
I really liked it. Yeah, exploring.
And you know why it meant so much to me that you start your life at 17, exploring the world in Italy and Rome and Tuscany and Venice and the British Virgin Islands, because I never once lost sight of the sacrifices that you took as a small child. You don't remember, but I remember. And you were always so grateful and gracious. Just gracious. And so I was very excited. I cried more that year. You don't know this. I cried more that year. Tears of joy. I missed you when you were gone. I was scared for you, but I was excited for you. That the first thing you got to do right when you graduate was travel the world with a passport.
Well, you made that happen. I'm the weird part is like day after day, like I said earlier, like I'm super like conscious of how like blessed I am, And so when I think about like I know a lot of people who don't ever like leave the state they were born in or leave their country, There's a lot of people who never leave their country. And so I was like seeing outside of where outside of myself, and I've always known it's bigger than me, right? And that's what makes it, so easy when I was younger to, see you travel and, because it's bigger than me. And I think it just starts as that you've always instilled in me that it's bigger than just me. And so in turn, it's easier to be selfless and you know, and just let you do your thing and be in the world and happy. And like, I was blessed with like a good setup for my life, and you know, it definitely changed the way I look at things, like, you know, forever and for the better. And so I can't imagine not having been on that kind of trip. And I can only imagine how scared you were. I couldn't imagine it back when I was 17, you know? I was like, what was that, 7 years ago now? Yeah, 7 years ago. So I couldn't really imagine back then, like, how scared you were. But when I think about it, having a underage, like not even adult yet, just kind of like taking taxis around Italy, like a place they'd never been to, kind of just like, I could have gotten to like some really like sketchy situations. And I really admire that you trusted me with that. And I think that it was like a never stopping cycle of like when you're instilled with trust and then it goes smoothly and then nothing happens, you want, you know, you act better, you act more trustworthy. And
it feeds itself.
It feeds itself.
It feeds itself. I trusted you. I trusted you, and I trusted how we had grown together, how I had raised you, and the values I had instilled in you, and the way you responded. I knew your character.
Yeah.
So
there was no judgment of that on my part. That was the, for sure she trusts you. You know, it's not just words. You're out here with X amount of dollars in your pocket for 2 weeks. Make it work.
Yeah.
And it was, I think I told you I made a video for the person who
coordinated our trip.
The itinerary coordinator and all that. I made her video not too long ago. But it was just because of how beautifully it was all set up, and I can only imagine like on her side what she was thinking, like, oh man, I'm just setting up rides for a 17-year-old kid just to like.
So we had to connect all the dots so that you were always by yourself, but you weren't on your own.
Right.
So when you went from Tuscany to Venice, we had a car service. When you went from Venice to Florence, we had transportation, and her job was to connect all the dots, and your job was to make good choices. And my job was to finance it and pray.
I don't think I ever told you this. There's a train ride into Venice, and it's really beautiful. It's a train ride over the ocean, right? Because Venice is, I don't even know what Venice is. It's like a city on the lake or something. I don't know.
On the water.
It's like you take a train over like the ocean onto like the little peninsula, whatever it is. And it's really, really beautiful. But the guy on the train knew I was coming. He knew my name. He was like, blah, blah, blah. We've been expecting you, unaccompanied minor. Here's your whatever, like, ticket. And it was like that the whole trip, where everyone was like really conscious that I was under, you know, a minor just kind of in the country doing this thing. So I never felt like I was just like out in the world. I mean, I did, but it felt good knowing I didn't have to like, you know, go buy a train ticket or like find a cab or something.
So to me, son, that was my gift to you. One of many. I wanted to do more, but that was the first. To say, let's have a great life. Like, this life is ours. So we're gonna come back with some pretty juicy experiences. But I wanna thank you for allowing my son, my beautiful son, and my friend, and I to share with you some of the special moments. We'll be right back right after this.